What is the Leighton Library? The Leighton Library, or Bibliotheca Leightoniana, is situated in the heart of the small city of Dunblane, in the cathedral precincts. Built between 1684 and 1688 to house the collection of books left to the clergy of the diocese by Archbishop Robert Leighton, it now includes about 4,000 volumes. It was restored after public appeal in 1988-89 and is managed by a local trust with professional advice from the staff of the University Library at Stirling. Who was Robert Leighton? Robert Leighton, born in 1611, was related to a family of some distinction resident near Montrose on the east coast of Scotland. His grandfather was a Catholic, but his father, Dr. Alexander Leighton, served as a doctor and Presbyterian minister in London and Utrecht. He was a strong opponent of episcopacy. Robert Leighton entered the University of Edinburgh in the winter of 1627 and completed his degree of Master of Arts in July 1631. He then spent some years abroad, chiefly at Douai in France. He returned to Scotland in 1638 and was ordained to the parish of Newbattle in Midlothian, a few miles south of Edinburgh. In 1653 he was appointed principal of the University of Edinburgh, where he continued until episcopacy was restored by Charles II. Leighton became Bishop of Dunblane in 1661. He was consecrated in Westminster and first met the Synod of Dunblane on the 15th of September 1662. Dunblane was a small diocese with a detached parish at Curras in Fife. In 1670, at the King's personal request, Leighton was induced to take up the Archbishopric of Glasgow. Acceptance of this dignity had been prompted by the hope that it would afford him the opportunity to find common ground between Episcopalians and Presbyterians. He met opposition, especially in the southwest of Scotland, and this made him consider leaving, although Glasgow petitioned Charles II for him to stay. Leighton was, however, able to retire in 1674 to spend the rest of his life in Sussex with his half-sister Sophie Lightmaker. He died on the 25th of June 1684 while visiting London and was buried at Horsted Keynes in Sussex. He appears to have been a man of considerable learning, piety and kindness, and his life and works continue to attract interest. He was one of the most remarkable people ever to have been associated with Dunblane. History. Leighton left £100 in his will towards the cost of the building. Even in those days this proved insufficient, however, and it needed help from Viscount Strathallan, whose townhouse stood opposite the site, to pay the final bill of £162, 2 shillings and 6pence. The first librarian, Robert Douglas, a former minister of Bothwell and son of the last Bishop of Dunblane, had accommodation in the library. He held the post for 50 years. The library served its original purpose of providing reading for the local clergy for many years. From 1734 it welcomed subscribers, and the income helped finance some further acquisitions. The demand ceased about 1870, and only the occasional book has been added to the collection since then. The preservation of the library owes much to the Very Reverend J. Hutchison Coburn, minister of the cathedral, who in 1930 founded the Society of Friends of Dunblane Cathedral, one of whose aims is to give aid to the Leighton Library. Later, through the agency of the University of Stirling, established in the 60s, the British Library gave grants for the conservation of the books and their cataloguing to professional standards. A public appeal, launched at the tercentenary of the library in 1988, raised sufficient money to allow for the refurbishment of the entire building. The library was reopened in 1990. What are the treasures of the collection? Leighton's own books reveal a man of considerable curiosity, scholarship and learning, who acquired books from all over Europe on many subjects, though mainly Christian theology and the Greek and Roman classics. Subsequent editions have included much valuable material on the 18th century Enlightenment and on travel to the Americas. There is an important collection of ecclesiastical pamphlets published during the disruption in the mid-19th century. Recently, books used by Leighton and originally belonging to the parish of Newbattle were purchased for permanent keeping in Dunblane. The catalogue of manuscripts describes a few unique items currently deposited in the library of the University of Stirling. Is the library open to the public? Yes, a team of volunteer guides manages this. Normally, the library is open on weekday mornings between May and the end of September, though this may be subject to change. For hours of opening, refer to the contact address and telephone number at the end of this recording. Group visits may be arranged. What will you see? It's a two-storey building erected between 1684 and 1688 and remains a unique example of a purpose-built 17th century library in Scotland. A lozenge on the east wall used to display Leighton's coat of arms. The lower storey has a barrel-vaulted ceiling now used for storage. The collection is housed on the upper storey, reached by a flight of external stairs. The room has windows on two sides and is lined with presses of shelving for the books, including Leighton's own bequest of 1,363 volumes and 149 pamphlets. Exhibition cases display some of the interesting items, and there are explanatory notices about the history of the collection and the life of Robert Leighton. A portrait of him hangs on an end wall. A dozen of turkey leather chairs, bought in 1688, may also be seen. Can you study in the library? No. There are no provisions for studying in the library. However, through a privileged arrangement, those wishing to read and study books from the collection may request for them to be temporarily transferred to the library of the University of Stirling, where secure and adequate consultation facilities are available. The Internet permits access to the catalogue of the collection through the university's website www.library.stir.ac.uk. These facilities mean that the library continues to be a working collection as well as a valuable heritage. Finally, the trustees rely entirely on volunteers and voluntary contributions to maintain this national treasure. Careful management of invested funds produces a limited annual income, but expenditure on maintenance now exceeds income each year. The solution is to have enough assets to produce a level of income sufficient to cover the running costs, to maintain, if not extend, the hours of opening, and to enhance the level of service offered. The trustees are therefore currently appealing for support. Any contribution you or the organisation you represent can make would be most welcome. Please discuss this with us. The person to contact is the Clerk to the Trustees of the Leighton Library, Tho and J.W. Barty, Solicitors, 61 High Street, Dunblane, Perthshire, FK15 OEH. Telephone number 01786 822 296 and email mail@bartys.co.uk, and Bartys is spelt Bartys. Many thanks for watching this short history of the Leighton Library.